the Dietitian, and welcome to Healthy Made Simple, where I show you how to make healthy eating simple. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you 4 meal kits from Sprouts Farmers Market. And these meal kits are ready-made meal kits, so everything in there is already cooked, cut, prepared, and all you have to do is just warm it up, put it together, and eat it. And these are a great alternative for us for those weeks where we don't really have food that's been planned and prepped ahead of time. And our alternative basically is going to be to go out to a restaurant and order food and pick up something, or maybe hit up the drive-thru. And nowadays, ordering food from restaurants and even fast food restaurants has gotten to be quite expensive. For us, we're a family of 3. We have 2 adults and a toddler, so getting 2 adult meals plus a kid's meal, we're looking at about 30 bucks just for a fast food meal for us. So it's pretty expensive, and there are actually healthier alternatives out there that are also more affordable, that can be better options for you and your family. Whether you live alone and want to get a couple extra meals out of it for yourself, or whether you have some other people in your family to feed. So these 4 meal kits that I'm going to be showing you from Sprouts are going to incorporate some lean protein, some good carb options in there, and some vegetables as well. Now, they're not perfect, but I'm going to show you how I take these meals and make it a more balanced meal by just adding some extra fruits and veggies on the side to get to that balanced plate that I'm always going for, which is going to be about half the plate vegetables, fruits if you need to as well, so half the plate fruits or vegetables, ideally vegetables, quarter lean protein, and a quarter carbs. Now, most of the time when you're eating out, getting to a quarter of your plate as a lean protein may be challenging. And doing a quarter of your plate as carbs can be challenging as well, especially if you're trying to do more whole grains. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try. There are ways that we can still find balance, even when we have to go to convenience options like these 4 meal kits that I'm going to be showing you. So let's get started. Let me show you how these meal kits work, how I get them warmed up and ready to go, and how I create a balanced meal altogether.
Alrighty, so here are the 4 meals from Sprouts that I'll be showing you today. And these are family meals, so they're meant to feed a family, but I'd say the portion size is good for maybe about 2 adults. We get by okay with 2 adults and a toddler, so this would work if you were a couple or if you're a family of 4 with 2 older kids. I would suggest maybe getting 2 of these kits. But the 4 kits I'm going to show you are the Gyro Kit, and this is very similar to a Gyro wrap or plate that you might get at a Mediterranean restaurant. Singapore style noodles, and these are noodles with almost a curry type of sauce, some chicken, and some veggies. The 3rd item on there is going to be the chicken lettuce wrap kit, and this is very similar to if you've ever had those chicken lettuce wrap appetizers or entrees at any restaurant, very similar to that in design. And the last one is the chicken shawarma kit, and this one is almost identical to the Gyro kit, except instead of the gyro meat for the protein, you got chicken instead. So here are the 4 meals. Let's open them each up one by one so I can show you what goes in them as well as how to prepare them. So the first one I'm going to do is the Gyro Kit. Now keep in mind, this is not going to be the same as if you were to eat from a Mediterranean restaurant or a Middle Eastern restaurant and actually got, freshly made gyro. This is a packaged ready-made product sold by a grocery store, so it's not going to be the same quality in that sense, but it still tastes good. You can make this a healthy, balanced meal at home in order to have some healthier options on hand so you don't have to go through the drive-thru. This kit comes with pita bread, and there's going to be 5 pieces of pita bread in there, and this is white pita bread. And it comes with 2 sauces in there. The blue one is the tzatziki sauce, which is a yogurt cucumber sauce, and the orange one is a fire feta sauce, which is another yogurty sauce, but it's got feta pieces in there and it's spicy as well. And then we got the gyro meat for our protein. Got cucumbers, tomatoes, and red onions for our vegetables. And all of these kits on the lid come with instructions on how to heat them up. None of these require any sort of cooking, but just warming them through, and it'll give you a little bit of information on how to warm it. And it's usually very simple instructions. It just says to remove the gyro meat and the pita, and then warm them both up to 165 degrees Fahrenheit, assemble as desired, and enjoy. So I'll show you how I warm these up. First up, we're gonna do the pita. And for my pita, I use my mini toaster oven to warm them up. If you have a bigger one, or if you have the patience to do less of them at a time, I would suggest that. I tend to overcrowd my mini toaster oven, and they still warm through, but I'd say the middles get a little bit soggy when you pile them on like this, so if you can separate them out, even better. But I was in a rush that day, so I stuck them all in there. And then as far as my meat, I'm going to throw it all onto a plate and then warm it up in the microwave. Now let's talk about the meat that comes with all of these kits. We're always trying to aim for lean protein. Now this gyro meat that you're gonna see, it's made with beef, but it is a bit of a processed type of meat. It's not just a fresh piece of meat that's been cooked. It does have fillers and preservatives and other things in there. Now, with kits like this, that does not bother me, because if this is your alternative to, let's say, hitting up a drive-through of a fast food place, this is a much healthier option. At least you're getting some sort of a protein in there. You're getting some vegetables in there. And I'm gonna show you how to make these meals a balanced plate. And that's always going to be a healthier alternative at home versus dining out at a restaurant, or versus hitting up a drive-through. You can find better balance at home, even if not all of the items that you're adding to your plate might be healthy if you look at them individually. Now with the gyro meat, I'm gonna put it in my microwave, and I'm gonna microwave that for 1 minute. And while that's happening, just going back to what I was talking about, keep in mind it's all a matter of perspective. If this was a healthier choice for you than drive-through, then feel proud of yourself for doing that. Don't get hung up on how the gyro meat might be a processed meat and that's toxic for me. Think about the alternative. If your alternative was a fast food burger, you made a great choice by doing this instead. So keep that in perspective when you're looking at meals like this, because things like this can absolutely be a great alternative to dining out, not only money-wise, but health-wise as well. So here's how I'm gonna make this a balanced plate. We always aim for 1/4 of our plate to be carbs. Now 1 pita is probably a little bit more than 1/4 of the plate, but that's okay. I was hungry, so I'm okay with that. If you're trying to lose weight, you could aim for anywhere from 1/2 to 1 full pita, depending on what your needs are. And then I'm doing the rest of that 1/4 of the plate as my protein, which is going to be the meat. And then the other half of the plate, we're gonna aim for vegetables. So I'm gonna use the vegetables that already come with the kit, which is gonna be the cucumbers that are on there, the tomatoes, and the red onion. Now, all of these items are gonna go into the pita. So what you can do with this meal kit, you can either eat everything separately, you can open up the pita and put everything inside, or do whatever you want. The nice part about it is it's an interactive meal, and everyone kind of build it their own way. The one downside of any ready-made meal like this, unfortunately, is that a lot of them tend to not have enough vegetables. You'll see all the vegetables I added on there. I got the cucumbers, the tomatoes, and the red onions on there, but that still does not fill up half of my plate. And I'm gonna add in the sauces. Let me show you what I got. That's the fire feta sauce. You can see it's a little bit orangey color from that spiciness. And then tzatziki sauce is gonna be that yogurt, cucumber, and I believe dill in there as well. For a nice cooling sauce. And we keep those on the side so everyone can use however much they want for their meal as we share it all together. Now going back to that plate, you see how I'm pointing out that empty spot? Because I couldn't get to half of my plate vegetables. I'm gonna add in something on the side to get myself there. And I had this edamame that had been pre-cooked that was sitting in my fridge. And these were originally frozen edamame from Costco that I had microwaved, and we had some leftovers from the night before. So I tacked that on so I can get to half of my plate vegetables. And here you go. Here's a balanced plate with your carbs, your protein, and your vegetables all together. And I did basically the same thing for my toddler as well. He got the same place we did with just a smaller portion of everything else. But this was a great balanced meal to have. Alrighty. Now, next we will move on to the chicken lettuce wrap kit. Now this, as I mentioned before, is very similar if you've ever had those appetizers at any restaurant that have some sort of a chicken lettuce wrap. This tastes very, very similar to that. And the cost for all of these meal kits is about between $15 to $17. I believe this one was about $15. So that's a relatively good deal considering that this will get you probably about 2 servings. If you're a couple or a family or an individual who's just trying to have some leftovers, but it's going to come with the chicken. It's going to come with these, I call these crispies. I'm not sure what they're called. If you know their name, please feel free to comment down below and let me know. And then it's going to come with this ginger soy glaze and some vegetables in there. We got some carrots, some green onions, and a lot of lettuce leaves that come in there so that you can build a lettuce wrap for yourself. And we'll go through and I'll show you. The only thing that needs to be warmed up here is that chicken. There's no other component. And just like I did with my gyro meat, I'm going to throw my chicken into a bowl and microwave it. And this is a nice lean source of protein. Now keep in mind, when chicken is pre-cooked and put in a meal like this, they do add some sort of preservative to keep it fresh on the shelf longer. So of course, if you have the means to grill your own chicken at home, great. But if you don't, ready-made cooked grilled chicken like this can be a great, easy alternative to be able to add some lean protein to your meals. So utilize convenience items like this if you're trying to get on a healthier path and you're trying to incorporate more lean proteins but aren't really in either the time, the space, the energy, mindset, whatever it may be to actually cook the chicken. Make sense? All right, so I'm gonna stick my bowl in the microwave and I'm gonna cook this one. I'm gonna warm up my chicken for about 1 minute as well. And it comes out perfectly. Feel free to adjust the time as you need to depending on your microwave and how strong your microwave is. Here we go. There is my chicken ready. I love meals like this because it makes weeknight dinners so much easier. We tend to utilize ready-made meals like this when we know we have a busy week coming up and I know I'm not going to have time to meal prep or prepare anything else. This is a great alternative for us and it's cost effective for us as well. All right, so let's build that balanced plate. We're going to take the chicken and we're going to go for, again, 1/4 of our plate to be the chicken. And you'll see this kit doesn't come with enough chicken, which is why I said this is probably good for maybe 2 adults and nothing more than that. If you're a bigger family, it does come with a lot of the other items in there. So you may want to just supplement with some extra protein if you wanted to make this a bigger meal. Now, next up, I'm going to use these crispies, as we call them, as my carbs. And you'll notice this one's a very low carb meal. So keep in mind, because the carbs are so low, this may not be as filling for you. So if you need to supplement with some extra carbs on the side, you can do that. But I love these crispies and I'd rather just put a lot of these on. And the package does come with a decent amount. So I'd rather personally use that for my carbs. But if you wanted to add some carbs to it, you probably could. Now I'm going to use all of the veggies that came in there. I'm going to use those lettuce wraps, the lettuce slices, the carrots that come in there, as well as the green onion to get to half of my plate vegetables. And that's much simpler to do with this meal kit, I would say, compared to the other ones, just because there's so many veggies that come in it with those big lettuce pieces that come in there. So keep in mind, and again, these meals don't last too long in the fridge because they're very fresh. You can see it's a fresh leaf of lettuce, carrots that have been sliced, and green onions. So these are a great way to have something quick within the next couple days if you keep them in the fridge. Now, one thing I want to show you with this is in the heating instructions, it does tell you to mix that ginger soy glaze that came with it with the chicken and then warm it up accordingly, which is not what I did with this. And what I discovered was that this kit comes with 2 of those ginger soy glazes. And that is a lot of glaze for the amount of chicken that comes in there. So what I like to do instead is use the ginger soy glaze almost as a dipping or drizzling sauce on top. I've noticed this kit is a little bit higher in sugar and sodium, and I'm presuming a lot of that is coming from the dressing because the rest of the meal really doesn't have much sugar and sodium to it. So instead, having it as a dipping option on the side or as a drizzling option on the side helps cut back on that sugar and the sodium. And with my son, we did something very similar. I used the chicken that came with it. I used the carrots that were in there as well, but I wanted to add in some additional stuff on the side. So I gave him some pita bread with some tzatziki sauce that I had gotten, and my son loves tzatziki, so that's always a great alternative, and a carrot and an apple on the side as well. All right, now the third kit I have is the chicken shawarma kit. And this one is very similar to that Gyro Kit that I initially showed you. The only difference is the protein that comes in there. And I'm totally okay with that because I find this to be a really great balanced kit. I would say the Gyro Kit and the chicken shawarma kit are the most filling out of all of them. Just with the pita bread and the cucumbers and the vegetables on the side and the chicken, I just find it to be a good balance. So it was nice to get a similar meal with a different kind of protein. Again, here are those pita breads that come in there, very similar to the other one. And like I mentioned, the 5 pita bread is a lot of pita bread, so you can always save 1 or 2 for later for some other things. The same sauces that came in the Gyro Kit, the tzatziki sauce and the fire feta, the chicken, the cucumbers and tomatoes, and the red onions, of course. All right, so with this one, it's going to be a very similar setup in terms of the heating instructions that come in there. And I'll take it off and I'll show you that, again, it says this very similar thing. Just remove the chicken and the pita. Make sure the chicken's warmed all the way through to 165 and then enjoy. Now, interactive meals like this can be a great option if you're the kind of person that tends to rush through meals. And this is going to be a very similar setup in terms of my warming through. I'm gonna put my pita bread in the toaster oven and I'm gonna microwave my chicken. But let's talk about interactive meals in the meantime. If you're the kind of person that tends to rush through meals, that tends to scarf meals down in 5 to 10 minutes, interactive meals may be a great way for you to slow down at meal times. Now, it takes time for our bodies to recognize that we've been eating, for our satiety hormones to kick in, before our body recognizes and says, hey, we've been having a meal, or we're starting to get full, let's slow down. And that process can take about 20 minutes until your body starts signaling to you that, hey, you're starting to get full. If you're the kind of person that tends to finish what you're eating in less than 20 minutes, then you may not feel that level of satiety just because you haven't given your body enough time for those hormones and those pathways to fire to tell you that you're getting full. Now, I know it can be hard. If you're the kind of person that is used to just eating very quickly, it can be hard to slow down at meal times. And one of the more natural ways of doing it is just by making your meals interactive. Don't pile everything into one bowl, which is going to make it easy for you to scarf it all down. Instead, put everything on a plate, as I have been showing you, in different compartments, in different areas, and make it an interactive plate where you're putting different components together to make each bite. Or maybe you're putting the components together to make one thing like a pita wrap and then biting into that. That will help you slow down at mealtime so you give your body a chance to recognize that you're starting to get full. And it can help you avoid overeating when you actually don't need to overeat. You just need to give your body time to recognize what's going on. All right, there's my chicken that's been warmed up, and I stuck that in the microwave for 1 minute. And then next we'll move on to making that balanced plate. And again, just like we did with the Gyro Kit, I'm gonna do 1/4 of my plate as the pita, 1/4 of my plate as the chicken, to get to 1/4 protein and 1/4 carbs. And I'm going to aim for that rest of the plate, the other half of the plate, to be vegetables. Now, with this protein, with this chicken that comes in there, if you are able to add in more chicken to make it a bigger meal, that could be a great option to stretch this meal out a little bit more. And you can do that by buying more of these ready-made cooked grilled chicken pieces at the grocery store. You could also do rotisserie chicken. That can also be a good option. If they have low sodium rotisserie chicken, even better. But that will help you add in more protein, especially if you're trying to go for a higher protein diet. Now, just like I did with the other meals, again, I have that quarter of my plate that's really not full, and I did not have more vegetables to go with it. So instead, this time around, I decided to fill it with fruit. And when you're aiming for your half of your plate to be vegetables, keep in mind that could be vegetables or fruit. Vegetables ideally, of course, if you can, but if you don't, adding in some fruit can be a great way of increasing your fruit and vegetable intake and creating more of a balanced meal instead of having to eat more of the pita, let's say, more carbs to keep you full. So I added some watermelon on there to help fill up my half of my plate to be fruits and vegetables. And then next I'll show you what I did with my toddler's plate instead. Now with my toddler's plate, very similar setup. I gave him a pita as well. He got some cucumbers on the side. He got some chicken and some watermelon. He pretty much ate the same thing we did, except minus a couple of the veggies that he did not care for. Alrighty. Now the last kit we're going to move on to is going to be the Singapore Street Noodles. Now these, I would say, are quite different than the other ones. This kit was a little bit more expensive. I believe this one was $17 compared to the other ones that were around $15. And with this kit, as I'll open it up in a little bit, you're going to get the noodles, the sauce, the chicken, and the vegetables to mix it all together. Now when you have a noodle dish like this, it can be hard at first to think of it as a balanced plate. Even if we just look at this container, look at how much space those noodles are taking in there compared to how much chicken is in there and how much vegetables in there. If I was just visually looking at this, this looks like half the plate carbs, which is the noodles, quarter, a little more than quarter protein, and a quarter vegetables, right? So the balance isn't there naturally to begin with. You get this big portion. And here's that Singapore style sauce. It's a very, I would say it's similar to a curry sauce. It does have a curry taste to it, and it is spicy. So this meal is a spicy one. There's the chicken and the vegetables that I'm going to be showing you as well. This is a spicy kit, so I would suggest if you don't like spicy food, avoid this one. Now with this, there's a lot more items to warm up. We got the noodles to warm up, we've got the sauce to warm up, and we got the chicken to warm up. So I'm going to be working on putting all those items into bowls so I can microwave all of them. And in the meantime, we'll talk about noodle dishes. Now, noodle dishes can be made to be balanced meals. Unfortunately, if you were to just go out and get a noodle dish, you're most likely going to have a very large portion of carbs that come with it. So having a meal kit like this at home where you can control the portion sizes of your carbs to help with your health, weight, nutrition goals can be a great alternative to ordering this at a restaurant, because at a restaurant you're not going to be able to ask them to do quarter of your plate carbs with the noodles and a quarter protein and all that. So finding ways to create that balance in your meals at home can be a great way to take that step towards a healthier you. So keep that in mind when you're looking at options like this, even if it doesn't seem appealing to you at first, even if you think, you know what, I'd rather just go to a restaurant and order a noodle dish instead of having to do this at home. Think about what the balance is like at that dish that you would order. Are you going to get a quarter of your plate to be carbs and a half of your plate to be vegetables? Or is it going to be half to maybe more than a half of the carbs of the noodles and significantly less vegetables? Now look at the noodles that come in there. This is a huge portion of noodles, and I will tell you, when we do break this down, you're not going to end up using all of the noodles. So this could be a great way to make more meals out of it. Just because a kit comes with that much food does not mean you have to eat all of that in that meal. You can stretch those noodles to be multiple meals while you add in other proteins and vegetables to make it balanced at the same time. And I'm going to use that Singapore style sauce. And as I mentioned, it's a spicy curry sauce. And I believe this is where maybe a lot more sodium might be coming from. So what we do with this, instead of just blindly tossing it with all the noodles, and this is kind of my go-to with any sauce or dressing, is keep it on the side. Just because it comes with that much does not mean you have to use all of it. And give yourself permission to not use all the sauce if you don't need it in that moment. Does not mean you have to waste it. You can always repurpose it for a different meal later on, but it does not mean that you have to use it in that meal just because it came that way. And this applies to anything that's a ready-made kit like this that comes with a sauce or a dressing, including salad kits. Typically they tend to go very generous in sauces and dressings on the side because I'm sure they would rather not have customers complain about how there wasn't enough sauce and they'd rather just give you extra. But producers of these products are not thinking about health and balance when they're giving these items to you. They're thinking about customer satisfaction. It is your personal responsibility to figure out what is healthy for me. What can I do to make this a more balanced meal? And sometimes that just means portioning things out differently, stretching certain items while eating a lot more of the items. Now with all the vegetables and protein that comes with these meals, those get consumed right away. I would say there's not even enough protein and vegetables in these. But the carbs that come in them might be too much. And they're absolutely too much for us in terms of the balance we create. So those we stretch. We stretch to be multiple meals. Just because you didn't use the sauce and the noodles for this dish does not mean that you won't be able to do that for another meal. So keep that in mind when you are putting a balance to your meals. All right, so I got everything warmed up. Let's build that balanced plate. And here is that sauce once it's been warmed up. I'll kind of stir it around so you can see what it looks like. It's a lot thinner once it's been warmed through. All right, so let's get started with the protein. We're gonna aim for protein to be 1/4 of our plate. Here we go. Now, I know it may look kind of funny to see a noodle dish compartmentalized on your plate like this. And you are more than welcome to mix everything together afterwards to make it a nice blended dish. But when you're portioning it out on your plate, do this. Think about the compartments. Think about the 1/4 protein, the 1/4 carbs, and the 1/2 the plate vegetables. And once you do that, then you can mix it all together and eat it however you want, but at least you know the balance is there for your meal, okay? Now I'm gonna do 1/4 of my plate to be the protein. Now this first scoop that you're gonna see, I would say if you're trying to lose weight, that's probably right around the portion size I would going for to get to about 1/4 of the plate. Now, of course, that's going to change depending on what your nutritional needs are and your body size. Of course, somebody who's 5 feet tall is not going to have the same nutritional needs as somebody who's 6 feet tall. Now you'll see I piled on my noodles because I was feeling hungry that night. I'm currently not trying to lose weight, so I can go a little bit more than 1/4 of my plate. So I did a bigger portion of noodles for myself personally because that's what worked for my nutritional needs. And if you're not sure what works for you, you don't know how big your portion sizes would be, great way to find out is by meeting with a dietitian. So feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to see you for a consult and give you ideas of what portion sizes you would need to follow in order to get to your health and wellness goals. All right, so I added in my vegetables on the side. I'm gonna drizzle that sauce all over my noodles. And in terms of the vegetables, it came with bell peppers, carrots, and snap peas. Now with the sauce, I tend to go lighter to begin with and then add more on if I need it. And again, with this one, there was still not enough vegetables in this meal. I had that little piece of my plate that was missing. So we went for another round of watermelon. We had a huge watermelon in our house that week, so we were trying to use up all of it. So I'm just gonna load that up in a bowl on the side, so that gives me the freedom to mix around all of these items on my plate to make a more cohesive noodle dish. And going back to the sauce, feel free to start easy on the sauce and then add more on as you need it. You can't take it away later, but you can always add more on. And here is my balanced plate with my protein, my carbs, my vegetables, and my fruit. And this is what my son got, very similar to what we had. He had the noodles minus the spicy sauce, the chicken, the watermelon, and I cut up some cheese for him on the side as another little side item.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped give you some ideas about how you can check out your local grocery store, whether that's Sprouts or a different grocery store, for meal kits like this one. They are becoming more and more common, so if you have a Sprouts near you and these items look appealing, go ahead and check it out. If you don't have a Sprouts, check out your local grocery store. A lot of them are developing their refrigerated section more to get ready-made meals like this that are more affordable options, so you may find something else that works for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like the content that I create, please hit that subscribe button to help my channel grow. If you have any suggestions or ideas for future videos, I would love to hear them. Please comment down below with your suggestions, and I will definitely take that into consideration when I'm coming up with future videos. My goal always is to make healthy eating simple for everyone. I think there's a lot of information out there that makes it very complicated, but there are ways to make it simple, easy, so that it's easy to incorporate in our day-to-day lives and it doesn't feel like this big hassle to try to follow a healthy diet. So that's all for me from today. Thanks again for staying tuned. Please be on the lookout for my next video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.